Good afternoon. It's Thursday, April 11. I'm Herman Green with your midday news. Special welcome if you're watching online at onespotmedia.com. The Jamaica Civil Aviation Authority, JCAA, has broken its silence regarding the damning findings on the November 10, 2016 plane crash in Greenwich Town, St. Andrew. Its response comes as the operator of the 18-year-old Caribbean Aviation Training Center, Captain Errol Stewart, raised questions about the JCAA's operation. The probe, conducted by the JCAA and the US-based National Transportation Safety Board, uncovered several major safety breaches concerning the ill-fated aircraft and by its operator, the Caribbean Aviation Training Center. Shortcomings were also found on the part of the JCAA, which has oversight responsibility for the local airspace. Speaking at a press conference this morning, Director General of the JCAA, Nari Williams-Singh, sought to address statements made by Captain Errol Stewart. One of the issues which was pointed out by Captain Stewart is that the JCAA was conflicted since they were carrying out an investigation against itself. However, Mr. Williams-Singh says that was not so.
The NTSB of the United States. The NTSB is an accredited party to the investigation, as the aircraft involved in the accident was manufactured and registered in the United States. The aircraft engine manufacturer, Lycoming, and the aircraft manufacturer, Cessna, were technical advisors to the NTSB. It is therefore disingenuous to suggest that the JCAA was investigating itself, given the participation of the aforementioned third parties.
The JCAA Director General also sought to clarify the issue surrounding the ring gear, which was pictured in the plane crash report.
The photo appearing in the official report is that of the engine manufacturer's, Lycoming's, reference starter ring gear, not the actual part taken from the aircraft. The engine manufacturer attached the reference starter ring gear to the engine crankshaft during the investigations to determine measurements and specifications. From those measurements, it was determined by the engine manufacturer that the engine's internal timing was incorrect.
24 hours after the murder-suicide of two correctional officers on Walton Park Road in Kingston, another attempted murder-suicide this morning. This time the crime scene is on Mackintosh Drive in St. Andrew. Reports from the Halfway Tree Police Station are that early Thursday morning, a man known only as Fuddy had an altercation with his common-law wife at their home, during which he used a stone to inflict wounds to her head. The police were alerted and the woman was found unconscious, lying in a pool of blood. She was taken to hospital where she is admitted in serious condition. The man is then believed, or rather the man is believed to have then took his own life. The public is being reminded that the Jamaica Constabulary Force offers counseling services through its domestic violence intervention centers located at the Constant Spring and Matilda's Corner police stations, both in St. Andrew. The Jamaica Federations of Corrections says it will be seeking to renegotiate the budgetary allocation from the Security Ministry to address psychiatric assistance for its members. The call comes in the wake of Wednesday morning's tragic murder-suicide involving two correctional officers. Federation Chairman Arlington Turner says based on the limited financial allocation this year, he believes the issue is not being given the attention it needs.
$2 million increase from a $6 to $8 million per annum for wellness for our officers. And we had asked for at least $12 million because what we realize is happening, our officers need the attention in the stressful environment in which we operate. This might seem like a huge sum, but it's not.
He says currently nothing is in place to help the officers. Following yesterday's killings, the chaplaincy unit visited the victims' co-workers. He says that is not enough, so he will be taking the matter to the ministry again.
We had written just some time ago to ask to meet with the minister to address some issues. I think this is now a priority issue that we need to address. So this is one of the things high on the agenda that we need to sit at the table and address because it's a highly stressed job and our officers are being affected.
Minister with responsibility for the Education Ministry, Carl Samuda, is calling on schools to be more disciplined in sticking to their budgets. Mr. Samuda says the days of diverting funds intended for one project to another must end. Kimon Witter reports.
At over $107 billion, the Education Ministry manages the second biggest budget allocation in central government. And with that, a call from the man now overseeing that portfolio, Carl Samuda, for schools to spend money on the intended project.
When we allocate funds for certain types of expenditure in the schools, those funds are to be used for the purpose for which a request was made of the Ministry of Finance for them.
Mr. Samuda, who was speaking at the opening of a new science lab at the St. Catherine High School on Wednesday, said if funds are needed for other projects, a special request for new funds must be made.
But the most important thing is to adhere to the plan of action and to use the resources appropriately to make sure that what we plan to do, we actually adhere to it and get it done.
He said the boards and principals of schools must be made to understand that education and the Ministry of Education must be run in a business-like way.
Avoid waste. Waste is like a pickpocket. It deprives us of valuable resources that can be put into productive areas that can go to the benefit of educating the children.
Kimon Witter, TVJ News.
Meanwhile, the government is seeking to review the school feeding program. That's the word from Minister with responsibility for the Education Ministry, Carl Samuda. Mr. Samuda says he directed the review to happen because he wants to ensure students are not being asked to learn while hungry.
I went to a high school the other day and the teaching staff told me that many of the students, by 9 o'clock, you can see a difference in their attitude. And I said, why? He said, because they're hungry. They need nutrition in order to learn. And that is why in the ministry we have, with Dr. McLean, we have spoken about the question of revisiting the school feeding program with a view to determining exactly what the cost is to ensure and guarantee that every child attending school can do so with comfort, knowing that they are receiving appropriate nutrition in order to absorb what is being taught.
Will Damian Crawford remain in East Portland? That was the question on everybody's mind after he was defeated by the JLP's candidate Anne-Marie Vaz in last Thursday's East Portland by-election. But in a meeting at the Port Antonio High School Auditorium in Portland Wednesday evening, those questions were answered. More in this report.
Losing PNP candidate in the recent Portland Eastern by-election, Damian Crawford, has indicated that he will be contesting the seat again in the next general elections. Mr. Crawford was in the constituency last evening thanking party workers. He left no doubt that he will be trying to wrestle the seat from the JLP's Anne-Marie Vaz at the next opportunity.
There's a question everybody's asking and I'm going to give you the answer. When they ask you what I'm going to do, Damian Crawford stays.
Mr. Crawford claims that he could not desert the PNP workers after the show of support he received as the PNP standard bearer in the constituency.
And I'm staying because the children need an example. That if first you try and don't succeed, try again. Try again. I'm here to stay because of the comrades who must be reminded that there's something about this party that deserves loving, that deserves effort, that deserves commitment.
In the meantime, PNP President Dr. Peter Phillips also thanked the constituents for their support. He says the police are investigating reports of vote buying in the lead-up to the by-election.
The security forces are investigating people for vote buying in East Portland. If they keep letting people break the law with impunity, they will have a lawless country.
But while the party has accepted the East Portland defeat, Dr. Phillips has blasted the media and poll results, claiming that they were biased against the opposition.
Poll poll say we're going to lose by 20 points. Some say 10, some say 6, some say it climbing every day. And when you look at the result, you realize that it was just propaganda, pure, simple propaganda directed against the People's National Party and the candidate.
O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
We go on to news in sports as Jamaica's Reggae Boys and Honduras were joined by El Salvador and Curacao in Group C of the CONCACAF Gold Cup at Wednesday's draw in Los Angeles, USA. Daniel Blake has the details.
It was announced earlier this month that the National Stadium, for the first time ever, will host 2 matches in the CONCACAF Gold Cup. 2-time finalists Jamaica and Honduras were confirmed to do battle in the second game of a doubleheader on June 17, but today it was confirmed that El Salvador and Curacao will play in the first game. After the opening games in Kingston, the Reggae Boys will fly to Houston to play El Salvador on June 21 and end their group stage campaign against Curacao on June 25 in Los Angeles. Jamaica will be familiar with the pair as they played El Salvador and Curacao in the 2017 group stage, much to the satisfaction of head coach Theodore Tapper Whitmore, who witnessed the draw.
First and foremost, it's good to get over the draw. We're looking forward for a good competitive tournament. We see what the group stages is like. The first game is at home, so we just have to take care of what we need to take care of at home.
The Reggae Boys were runners-up in the previous 2 editions of the tournament, losing 3-1 to Mexico in the 2015 edition before going down 2-1 to the United States in 2017. Daniel Blake, TVJ Sports.
And that's the midday news. Primetime news is at 7. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Herman Green. Good afternoon.